For years, I struggled with a puzzle that felt both personal and universal. I followed the script I was given. Be open, be kind, be emotionally available, communicate your feelings. Yet, the deeper I leaned into that script, the more I seemed to fade into the background. It wasn't until I stepped back and began observing patterns, not just in my life, but in biology, psychology, and social dynamics, that a clearer, albeit uncomfortable, picture emerged. This understanding isn't about blaming anyone. It's about recognizing that our modern narratives around relationships often clash with deeper, more instinctual currents. We're taught that attraction is a dialogue built on words and declarations. But what if it operates more like a silent scan? A preconscious evaluation that begins long before the first hello is even uttered? Most of us grow up believing a fundamental idea. If you feel more, show more, and try harder, you will be seen and chosen. This idea is romantic, it's hopeful, and it places the focus squarely on intention and effort. But it misses a critical component of human dynamics. The response we elicit from others, particularly in the initial stages of attraction, often has less to do with what we say we are and more to do with what we non-verbally represent. We are constantly broadcasting signals through our posture, our rhythm of speech, our ease or urgency, our presence or absence of need. If you're finding this perspective challenging or intriguing, I want you to let me know in the comments below. What was the script you were given about relationships? Does this idea of a silent scan resonate with your experiences? The work of researchers like David Buss sheds light on this. Attraction, especially from an evolutionary perspective, isn't merely a momentary like. It's an assessment of adaptive value. It's a continuous, often subconscious, evaluation asking questions about stability, internal fortitude, and one's place in the social hierarchy. This isn't a cold calculation. It's an instinctual process woven into our biology. The collective mistake many make is treating this deep, instinctual process as if it were a logical negotiation. We believe we need to explain, justify, and verbalize our way into being desirable. But you cannot negotiate with instinct. You can only understand the language it speaks. When a man approaches an interaction with the primary goal of being chosen, he inadvertently places himself in a position of evaluation. He makes the other person the judge and himself the applicant. This hierarchical shift, though often unspoken, is felt. It's read in the subtleties, in the leaning in too quickly, the agreement that comes too easily, the laughter that's a bit too eager, the rush to fill silences with personal disclosures. The subtext the body reads isn't romance or sincerity. The subtext reads as neediness, a need for validation, for approval, for external confirmation of worth. This realization usually takes time because it dismantles comfortable, socially sanctioned narratives. The idea that being yourself is enough is true for authentic connection, but it's an incomplete strategy for sparking initial desire if yourself is fraught with anxiety and a need for acceptance. Kindness is a virtue, but without an internal framework of self-respect and boundaries, it can be perceived as a strategy, not a strength. Emotional openness is crucial for intimacy, but offered too early and without reciprocity, it can signal a lack of emotional self-regulation. I want to pause here and ask you to subscribe if this is making you think. This channel is dedicated to exploring these unspoken dynamics, and your subscription helps this message reach others who need to hear it. The deeper we go, the more the pieces will start to fit together. The pivotal shift occurs when you move from trying to convince someone of your value to embodying a state where your value is a self-evident fact, not a plea for validation. This isn't about becoming arrogant or cold. It's about cultivating a genuine internal center, a life and identity that do not orbit around the approval of a single person. When this independence is authentic, it manifests in everything. The calm tone of your voice, the unhurried pace of your responses, the comfort with silence, the ability to be fully present without projecting urgency onto the future of the interaction. Studies, such as those from the University of Rochester, have pointed to a counterintuitive finding. Individuals perceived as less emotionally invested in a given outcome are often evaluated as more desirable. This isn't a prescription for game playing. It's an observation of a principle. Perceived neediness reduces perceived value. The nice guy isn't rejected for his kindness. He's often dismissed because his kindness is delivered alongside a transparent bid for acceptance, making him predictable and emotionally unsafe in a paradoxical way. Safety isn't found in pandering. It's found in steady, predictable strength. The practical application of this demands humility and immense self-discipline. It means cutting the compulsive need to over-explain yourself, resisting the urge to convince someone of your worth through words, allowing interactions to breathe and unfold on their own timeline, rather than racing toward a conclusion dictated by your anxiety. Becoming a keen observer of the other person's responses, rather than being trapped in the monologue of your own intentions. When you learn to slow down your internal clock, the entire environment changes. Conversations gain space and texture. Silence transforms from an awkward threat into a powerful tool of presence. And desire, which is suffocated by overt emotional urgency, begins to find a foothold. What's your biggest challenge with silence in interactions? Do you feel pressure to fill it? Share your thoughts in the comments. This is how we learn from each other's experiences. This brings us to a core engine of attraction: emotional tension under control. We must confront an uncomfortable truth. Comfort, while essential for long-term bonds, does not ignite initial desire. Desire is an active state, a form of arousal. It is sparked by contrast, novelty, and a degree of healthy uncertainty. The classic study by Dutton and Aaron on the Capilano suspension bridge illustrated this perfectly. Physiological arousal from the shaky bridge was misattributed as romantic attraction to the interviewer present. The body's activated state sought a context, and the context available was the person nearby. The common mistake is to try and eliminate all tension immediately to create a flat line of pleasant, predictable stability. The instinctual read on this isn't mature and safe. It can often read as unstimulating or neutral. The goal isn't to create chaos or fear. The goal is to understand that a measured, controlled tension, a conversation that has light and shadow, presence and absence, pursuit and pause, is far more activating than a constant, monotonous stream of agreeable comfort. The man who understands this doesn't try to resolve every moment of suspense. He doesn't text immediately to clarify a playful, ambiguous comment. He doesn't rush to assure and soothe at the first sign of minor uncertainty. He is able to sustain a positive emotional charge without discharging it prematurely through neediness or reassurance seeking. He controls the rhythm. This might mean ending an engaging conversation at its peak, leaving a positive, suspended feeling. It means understanding that what is left unsaid, but felt, often works more powerfully in the mind than what has been overtly stated. This mastery is rooted in emotional self-regulation, often perceived as a form of leadership. Research from institutions like UC Berkeley highlights the link between emotional control and perceived status. It's not about being emotionless. It's about not being hijacked by the emotion of the moment. When a subtle test arises, a playful challenge, a mood shift, an ambiguous comment, the reactive man scrambles to adjust, explain, or please. The man governing himself remains centered. He doesn't rush to fill the emotional void created by the tension. He holds it, and in doing so, communicates unwavering stability. This is the silent test most men fail without even knowing they were being tested. It's not a conscious, cruel game. It's an instinctive probe for resilience. If you're appreciating this deep dive into the mechanics of attraction and presence, please hit the like button. It tells the algorithm this content is valuable and helps others discover this conversation. Let's talk about the archetype that truly awakens attraction. It is not the seeker of acceptance, but the transmitter of wholeness. Carl Jung spoke of masculine energy not as brute force, but as focused consciousness, direction, and purpose. A man who is internally whole does not look to another person to complete him. His life has a trajectory, his values have a structure, and his emotional world has a foundation. He is not a candidate pleading his case. He is a force that can be felt. His value is communicated through his being, not his begging. When you internalize this, your focus undergoes a fundamental shift. It moves from "how is she reacting to me?" to "what state am I in and what am I projecting?" This is the ultimate responsibility. It's about curating your internal state so that your external signals align with strength, calm assurance, and positive presence. Your posture changes, your eye contact steadies, your speech rhythm finds a natural, unhurried cadence. You stop performing confidence and start emanating from a place of genuine self-possession. The balance to strike is delicate and powerful, the simultaneous transmission of instinctive safety and emotional excitement. Safety alone is neutral, a friend zone. Excitement alone is anxiety-provoking, a fling. The intersection is where lasting attraction lives, the excitement of the unknown paired with the safety of known emotional strength. The man who can govern his reactions, sustain a positive charge, and remain utterly present without a trace of urgency doesn't have to force a connection. He creates a psychological and emotional space where connection becomes the most natural, desirable outcome. The journey to this understanding is ongoing. If you want to dive deeper into this system, not just scattered tips, but a cohesive framework based on evolutionary psychology, neuroscience, and real-world social dynamics, I've created a comprehensive guide. This isn't about pickup lines. It's about rebuilding your internal operating system for presence and attraction. The link to learn more is in the description below. In conclusion, the understanding that changes everything is this. People, and particularly in the context of initial attraction, feel before they decide. The logical mind justifies what the instinctual body has already concluded. Your primary task, therefore, is not to craft the perfect argument for yourself. Your task is to become the kind of man whose silent signals argue compellingly on his behalf before he even speaks a word. This requires 1. Eradicating the need to be chosen. Anchor your worth internally. Your mission, your growth, your integrity come first. 2. Mastering emotional tension. Learn to recognize, sustain, and gently guide the natural charge of an interaction without rushing to dispel it. 3. Governing your reactions. Develop the discipline to feel your emotions without being enslaved by them. Your centeredness in moments of subtle pressure is your loudest broadcast. Most spend a lifetime tweaking their words and actions. The profound shift happens when you transform the internal place from which those words and actions originate. That is the silent advantage. That is the foundation of undeniable presence. This is a conversation, not a monologue. I've shared my framework. Now I want to hear from you. What part of this resonated most? What do you disagree with? Let's have a real discussion in the comments. And if you found value here, share this with a friend who might benefit from this perspective. Until next time, focus on your inner state and let your actions flow from there.